Hi everybody, welcome. You got myself here, Chris McCabe, head of the project, and Key Jeffries, CTO. Today we're going to go through the ORC-8. We're going to dig in, have a little open discussion about it, get the ball rolling, and give everyone an update on where we're going as a project, and just kind of give you a bit more of a taster on what the flavors and the recipes we've grabbed from the ORC, and what we're going to do moving forward with it as well. So buckle in. Key's gonna get down and dirty.
Yeah, so I guess one of the major questions from the ORC is how much privacy is there going to be when we switch over to an EVM chain, or if we were to switch over to an EVM chain. And that was a question that came through a lot from many of you guys on the GitHub issue. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a genuine concern from a lot of people. We have been a privacy coin for the last 5.5 years. And people are questioning what will happen when we migrate to an EVM chain, or if we were to migrate to an EVM chain, how would that play out with privacy, specifically around features like buying Session Pro and ONS monetization as well. So on those two questions, I'll give you kind of our general view on this. And our general view is that we do want to provide a level of privacy around these services when you're purchasing these services at a base layer. But then the implementation of that, we really want to go for more of a partnered approach. There's a bunch of EVM projects that are working on privacy right now. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I was on a Spaces with Railgun, and they're working really diligently in the space to be able to try and give additional privacy to on-chain EVM applications. And I think for us, it's going to look, privacy on-chain is going to look like an opt-in option and being supported by one of those partners to be able to provide that opt-in option. So yeah, it's something that we're looking into. I can't guarantee that there'll be, anything when we launch. But we've been working on privacy tech for the last 5.5 years. So it's obviously in our ethos to provide privacy at all of the layers of the stack. And that's kind of an end goal for us. But yeah, as I said, we want to work with a partner organization, and we want to just focus on Session ourselves right now, because that's a product that's being super successful, and pumping all of our resources into Session right now makes the most sense, while looking at partner organizations for the other side of things. Is that what you're thinking as well?
Yeah, pretty much getting rid of the friction points. There's going to be trade-offs. I'm pretty excited to unlock all the options that come from moving to an EVM or layer 2. And in terms of running a node and those privacy features that you experience when you're staking, a lot of that is trackable. So functionally running a node and operating as part of the network, there's not really going to be much of a privacy major difference or major step between the two. So we're aware of that one. And yeah, we don't want to be targeted we want to stay positive. We want to really focus on Session, the product, really focus on growing that, and just make the experience for people to join, use Session, monetize, run nodes, super simple. And yeah, there's going to be some trade-offs, but we definitely think that if you weigh them up fairly next to each other, I think it's going to be substantially much better for users.
Yeah, I think that's a good point as well on the service node front. Service nodes have never really been considered like a fully private entity in Oxen even. The idea behind running a service node has always been that you'd give up a certain level of privacy, expose a publicly routable IP address to provide services to the network. And also your rewards would be paid out via block rewards, which are essentially transparent rewards. So they don't have any of the privacy properties that you would usually receive from a Monero-based blockchain. So on the service node side of things will be essentially equivalent between the EVM chain and the Oxen side of things. But yeah, on the user side, we definitely do take the feedback that there's going to be users out there that want to buy, for example, Session Pro, and they don't want to be exposed when they do that. They don't want to be exposing their privacy, because obviously Session's a private app, but if you purchase it in a non-private way, that could potentially lead to some metadata exposure. And I think, yeah, as I said before, partnering with external applications like Railgun, and then also offering payment for Session Pro in various different payment methods. So that might be, if you don't care as much about your privacy when you're paying for Session Pro, maybe you pay through the in-app payments through Google Pay or Apple Pay. But we'll also offer a raft of crypto options to pay as well. That'll include cent, obviously, or the Session token. but can also include other crypto payment methods as well. So that'll definitely be something that we're looking at.
Yeah, I think we just have a really good privacy-focused intention. And then with that, it's like, all right, we get this done, MVP out the door, and then see what we can add in the future with third parties.
Yep, definitely.
What do you feel like the second biggest thing that has been coming up with the org?
Yeah, so I think one of the other big questions when it comes to the org is like, what does this mean for our commitment to Lokinet? And what does Lokinet become after we progress through the org? A lot of people are asking, like, you're moving to a very session-focused future. Does that mean that Lokinet is being dropped? And I guess, like, when I think about the answer to that, I think that, what we're doing internally inside of the organization right now is actually devoting more resources towards Lokinet. We've hired people over the last 6 months to work on Lokinet specifically because it's so important to the future of Session and important as a standalone product as well. So did you want to talk a bit more about the Session Router stuff?
I think we just keep it orc based, but I think anyone who believes that we're sort of pushing away from Lokinet, the name, possibly, there could be change there, but as a technology, it is too good. It is such an awesome technology. The benefits and the upside is like massive and magnificent. So in no way, shape or form would we ever dump such an incredible tool. It's just, how is it going to be plugged in and how's it going to work with us, the network, as we grow over the next few years?
Yeah, I think on the short term side of Lokinet and how it develops in the future, the short term will stay fairly fixed in terms of the next goal for Lokinet is to be implemented inside of Session. And we've been working towards that with libLokinet and the improvements that we're actually making to the core of Lokinet with libquick as well. So making those improvements so that we can implement libLokinet inside of Session, that's the next major thing that we're going to do. And that doesn't change whether we do ORC-8 or not. But the future of Lokinet, I think, is going to have a bit more of a B2B focus. And we talked about this around about 6 months ago when we proposed some monetization models for Lokinet. And I think we'll be moving more down some of that path for Lokinet monetization in terms of integrating with existing VPN providers. That's how we envision the monetization aspect of Lokinet, and probably more the public facing side of things will happen through integrations with other VPN providers to offer them kind of a private route through Lokinet. So that strategy is obviously still developing and it hasn't solidified completely. But I think that's what we're seeing as kind of the short term and the long term of how Lokinet develops over time.
Yeah, and from my perspective, it's the least friction, highest value technology we can give to people is through this route, initially at least, and then we can see sort of how that organically grows from there. So yeah, I'm excited about that one.
Well, I actually want to maybe talk a little bit more about how we're generally feeling on ORC-8. Like, is this something that we're going to proceed with? Where is the organization focusing its resources right now? I mean, from my perspective, I think we're pretty solid on ORC-8. Most of the feedback has been very good. And I think right now it makes most sense to move forward with something that looks very close to ORC-8. Not all of the details are solidified just yet, but it'll be a process that develops over the next couple of months. But I think it's important to signal the fact that this is a path that we think that we're going down now with ORC-8.
Yeah, well, what do you feel like another major feedback item from the community was from the ORC-8?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the feedback for ORC-8 has kind of centered around the fact that we're not giving Oxen a fair shot. Like, there's a lot of people out there that believe that we haven't done the necessary things to give Oxen a fair chance to succeed, essentially, and that we're moving on to ORC-8 or something like ORC-8 too early. I mean, to that, I would just say, and this has been my kind of consistent response around this, is that over the years, we have seen what has succeeded and what hasn't succeeded. And we spent the first 2 or 3 years of Oxen building out the service node network and building out some really cool, interesting features like Pulse and Blink, and, proof of stake and checkpointing, and everything that we did on top of Monero. We were kind of the first people to do it on top of Monero, or a Monero fork, basically. And what we saw from that when we finished after when we got to 3 years and we developed all of these cool features on top of Monero, was that use was still really low. Like we didn't see a lot of users flocking in. What we saw users flocking in for was the service node network, which was the cool aspect, and Lokinet and Session. So it's always been, I think, clear to us that the applications that we've been building on top of the Monero chain have always been the part that people have had a very natural interest in. And we haven't had to like push people into that. But we haven't been, paying people to use Session in the same way that other applications are. But people are just naturally picking it up and using it. And we think that, if we're to focus our resources in the future on any product, it should be the products that are naturally building steam on their own, instead of the products that we're having to push people kind of into, get them interested, get them bought in. That's a way harder path than pushing down, the Session or the Lokinet doors where people are already wanting something in that space and adopting it based on word of mouth. So I think we have given Oxen a fair chance. But I think that Session and Lokinet have had so much more success, and I want to focus on those products.
I feel like one of the key pressure points behind this move and this timing is that the underlying economic structure really needs to support the applications running on top for them to continue to grow and scale and succeed. And right now, with how Oxen's operating and how exchanges are viewing privacy coins such as Oxen, it's getting tougher and tougher for the currency to be this flexible, liquid, powerful entity under the applications. So making this change is going to pretty much create this exceptionally strong foundation for our applications to just continue to scale, grow, and get more and more powerful.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like when we started Oxen, the landscape around privacy coins was totally different as well. Like there wasn't that kind of very anti-regulatory front that was moving forward at a very fast pace that we see now against privacy coins. So it's really about assessing the market as well when we consider where we should focus our resources. And right now, kind of everything is telling us on the regulation side that privacy coins are a really hard space to be in. And that's a fight that we can fight, but we can't fight on every front at the same time, right? Like we have to choose our battles. We can't win every single war here. And I think we've decided that fighting the Session battle, where people are naturally adopting the app and we already have a lot of groundswell, is where we should focus our resources instead of trying to fight the privacy coin battle and the Session battle and the Lokinet battle at the same time.
Cool. So yeah, really cool wrap up on, I guess, some of the major key items. What are you most excited about with ORC-8? What's like your number one exciting point?
Well, I think for like, just to give you an example of something that we've been working on for a very long time, we have been working to try and get Oxen integrated into Ledger wallets for like 2 years. And this isn't a secret or anything. Like if you've listened to the dev updates, you've heard me going through this, month by month.
I have been.
Yeah. And it's, originally like they said, do it this way. And then we did it that way. And then they told us to do it another way. Anyway, that's all kind of in the details. But when we move to an ERC20 token, we essentially get instant integration with Ledger, Trezor, MetaMask, every wallet that you would traditionally use to manage Ethereum and Ethereum tokens. We get instant integration there. And I think that's going to be so huge for us in terms of interoperability with ecosystems, accessibility. Like when someone wants to run a service node or they want to get involved in Session and they want to buy Session coins, the barrier to entry is so much lower now than having to, onboard onto an exchange, get a specific wallet, not have hardware wallet support. Every barrier you put in place, you lose a few people. And being in the Ethereum ecosystem or being an EVM supported chain, it's just going to drop all of those barriers massively for us. So personally, I'm most excited for the barriers being reduced and the interoperability being increased. Like, we're going to get access to an entire new ecosystem by doing this migration. So
one item that I wanted to bring up was the proposal ORC-69 Session X coin SEX, as I assume the ticker. This is proposal 38. I thought this was hilarious. I think it's a pretty hilarious play. There's something in there that would land in a degen world. And the person who wrote this up's name is Degen Rocket, which is just on point. Like, I get where you're coming from. It is hilarious. But at the same time, as we operate as a non-profit foundation in Australia that's privacy focused, there are some rules and sort of regulations that we try to apply to stay above board. And getting super sexy as much as he's wearing a turtleneck sweater right now. He knows all about it. We really can't. I definitely considered it for like a few seconds, but we can't get this sexy. Unfortunately, we have to stay somewhat privacy and serious in terms of the technology and how we position ourselves. But I did think it was absolutely freaking hilarious, and thank you for sending that through.
So another thing I'm really excited about is unifying the branding. I know when I talk to people day to day about what we're doing at Session and Oxen, there's often this massive disconnect between the two. They're almost seen as kind of two different companies, like Session and Oxen, yet they're the same thing behind the scenes. But I think by moving everything into the Session branding, that's going to be so huge for understandability of the project. You can very simply explain to people, hey, I work at Session, or hey, there's this really cool project called Session, and it has a token. And what's the token's name? Oh, it's Session token. Like, just the really like simple kind of reasoning behind all of that, I think is going to lead people down the right path. We've always been trying to explain this more complex narrative of, there's a token called Oxen, and then there's these apps that run on top of it, and there's this, router app, and then there's also like a decentralized messenger, and then maybe you come in from the messenger, but you don't know about the coin. I think just by simplifying all of that down to Session token and Session router, I think that's going to be a super unifying vision. And I think models some of the other successful companies out there, companies like Proton, for example, where you have Proton being the core brand, and then you have Proton Mail and Proton Drive and Proton VPN. And even to give a slightly less private example, Google, for example, right, has their core products, but then they also have Google Drive and Google Mail and all of the products around that. So I think that's how we see the Session brand developing as well, is having that core Session brand and the core product that we offer, but also offering the products around it, so that we're not just tying ourselves into one specific box, but being able to bring all of the brands together around the Session brand, which has been by far our most successful brand.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that getting up to this point in time, it's been about us looking at the market and us trying to figure out where we fit and us trying to like carve out a niche. I think 2024 onwards, we are going to be sort of the leader in this space. We are going to be the one that people take as an example of success. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to do. And bringing it all together, just simplifying that process, getting rid of the friction. It's going to be incredible. Simple, grub brain, easy to get on board. A user of one application or one part of the network is user of another, and same for the token. We're all going to be one unified organization with applications and technology, all going in the same direction together. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped about that as well. Sick.
Yeah. I think one question which people have had around the ORC, which they've been asking in the request for comment as well, is how are we going to go from an existing coin, which is Oxen, to a new coin? And what's the migration process going to look like? How are we going to bring people along? How are we going to bring holders along? How are we going to bring service node operators along? And how is everyone going to feel included in this new coin that we're creating? I think that's a big worry for a lot of people. And I mean, personally, like what I have to say for that is like service node operators are the backbone of the entire network. They're the backbone of Session. They're the backbone of Lokinet. They're the backbone of the entire project. And like, if anything that we do is with the service node operators first in mind. We want to bring the service node operators across no matter what we do. So that's a big focus in the design process for the migration. We're looking at a bunch of different options right now, and I'm sorry to say that I can't like lock in a particular option, but I just want to preface that with the fact that the service node operators are super important, and we're looking with anything that we build to bring service node operators across. And that goes for Oxen token holders as well. Also super important. Those people who have been there since day one, we want to bring you across as well. And we're going to do our best to keep everyone happy as the migration occurs.
On that note, we're moving forward. We're going ahead with ORC-8. What do you...
Well, with the important thing to say is that like we've been moving forward with ORC-8 for a while now, at least the investigatory stage of things. I think with ORC-8, a lot of it comes down to like how the technical migration is going to occur. I think a lot of the ideas are super solid, but we need to work out how we're going to get there. And, we've been planning that side of things for a while. I know one of our core developers has been working on, like the efficiency methods in terms of like being able to migrate across and have the Oxen chain operating and also the session chain operating, how that's going to work and how that's going to be efficient. We've been working on that for a couple of months now. So I think it's important to say, yes, like we're looking forward. We're going to solidify around the ORC approach. And we have been doing that for, the last couple of months. So we're not super far behind in terms of like, we're just saying, it's starting now. We have been doing this for a while.
All right, so that's it. ORC-8 is moving ahead at full speed. We've taken on a bunch of feedback. There's a lot of really awesome points in there that we're bringing on and we're going to move forward with it. We have been sort of working away at it a little bit to sort of flesh it out in the background. But as of today, we want to connect with the community and we want to share that we are moving ahead with ORC-8. There are a few little tidbits that we're going to attach and sort of use that momentum to move forward with. So I'm personally so proud and excited about how much feedback we got, so much energy that was poured into this proposal and people's feedback and where they would like to see it go. It's absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for your time and attention. I'm ready to send it. I'm ready to just take this up to a new level, and I hope that everybody is ready to come with us.